The Gauteng provincial government is revitalizing the township economy by investing billions of rands in township enterprises and procuring its goods and services. But what part do children play in the bigger picture of achieving the ultimate thriving economy? We often hear the phrase government can't do it alone, and Soweto resident Wandile Cindy took that to heart. He got involved with schools in his area to empower learners outside of their basic education needs. These schools have the essential infrastructure needed for standard teaching, but there's a huge gap when it comes to extracurricular activities. Wandile started his plan with the Yearbook.
The whole idea is for us to empower young people with the skills in photography, journalism, media marketing, event management. The 8 to 2 p.m., that's pretty much what is almost like the core focus of our government. And what I'm saying is that between 2 and 5 p.m., Saturdays, school holidays, we want to own that space. We want to ultimately drive the youth to be responsible for their own growth and for their own development, so that we start making or start allowing learning to happen outside of the classroom. When we started the project in 2016, we used something called social capital. So I walked around with a raffle ticket basically. I called photographer friends, journalists, guys who do sports, Reiki masters, etc., creative designers. And I said, look guys, I want to create this yearbook. I don't necessarily have the funds to do it, but I have dedicated my time. And to print the yearbook, we actually sold advertising space. From a monetary point of view, and I think going forward, the idea is one, to start targeting corporates in terms of the CSI funding, but also enterprise development as well. I've got 2 students who have been with me for the last 2 months, Thomas and Nados. Thomas is from Montreal, Canada. He goes to McGill University, and Nados is from Houston, Texas in the US. She goes to the University of Notre Dame. So they picked up our school yearbook. And when I was chatting to them, they actually had school yearbooks themselves, so they could resonate. But like Thomas was saying to me, their school yearbooks were put together by professionals, whereas here in South Africa, in Soweto, in Protea South, in Almond Technical High School, we're doing it ourselves. So he was both of them were quite keen to find out how we're doing it, what we're doing, and how we're ultimately working with these kids. So they came here and one, to enhance the school yearbook in terms of the content that we can ultimately put into the yearbook. That was one. Secondly, also to look at investment capital, and we spoke at length about crowdfunding. Until we launched about a week ago, we launched our crowdfunding page called Dear Future Today on generosity.com. To date, we've raised about $410 through their efforts, and our target is to raise $25,000 US. That will go towards the printing and of our school yearbook, but also we want to put together our flagship event, Literacy Day, Friday 13 October, here at the school by reading a book called Zenzele, which means doing it yourself.
I'm going back to finish my bachelor, but I think Telescope really inspired me to make things happen for yourself. They really started with nothing. They had, I think, 1 computer, 1 camera to do that whole project, and it really showed me that you don't need much to create something and help others. I was also inspired to see how the importance of social businesses and the impact they can have in community.
I can see the drive that the students have, but it's not necessarily met with the resources. So the drive in terms of the yearbook committee committing their whole year to creating the first ever yearbook, that's pretty amazing. They took a risk with Wandile and they actually did this thing. But if you walk into the classrooms, specifically the science classroom, there was like dirt within the sink. That level of resource is not matching the amount of talent that's here. So I think bridging those two would be really amazing within South Africa.
By looking at the yearbook in itself you can see that the kids have learned something. So some of the pictures that are taken in the yearbook, those are the kids who took it. The articles, they wrote those articles, and you look at when we started, when they were handwriting the initial articles to what was printed, and I think through some of the stewardship of some of my journalist friends and my own experience of marketing, advertising, and writing a lot of press releases, we were able to hone in that particular skill. There's that aspect. The other aspect is around project management. These kids ultimately project manage the creation and the delivery of this yearbook. So there's some leadership skills that ultimately came to the fore. Today we're brainstorming how we're going to put together Literacy Day as an example, and what I'm enjoying more is the pushback. I think last year was a lot of almost like dictatorship of this is what One Leader thinks needs to be done, but this year and them having done it, they're coming back to me, they're saying, One Leader, actually, this is what we believe should be done because we know the kids, we understand the environment of the school, and we think this is what's going to give us the best results.